Hi everybody, welcome back. Thanks for joining me for another royal news video. So, I'm really sorry I've not been around much lately. I've not been feeling myself for the last, I suppose, about 3-4 weeks. I keep having these dizzy spells and it's like I'm falling over and I don't lose consciousness. So obviously the doctors were a little bit concerned. And I've been having a problem with bright lights. So of course, being on my phone, being on the computer, it hurts. And as I said, I keep just feeling a bit like I'm drunk, but without actually having the alcohol, the fun side of it. So I have been back and forth to the hospital, various appointments. Yesterday, I had a very lovely appointment with a very lovely young man who got me to do all of these optical exercises, and I have photographs taken of the back of my eyes. They think I've got this optic neuritis or something, but they're not sure. So today I've got to go for a brain scan, and it's just not been a great week. And then to top it all off, on Monday, I'm saying this with a cheery face so I don't burst into tears, but one of our family cats who I rescued 8 years ago, Minx, she has cancer, and she took a turn for the worst. So I went round my mum's and we sat with her and we had someone come out, and it was really lovely actually. They come to your home and my mum held her as she went over Rainbow Bridge. So I've not been having a good week, and then I was sitting there, this was Monday night, I looked at my phone, King Charles has got cancer. I was like, you are kidding me. I cannot believe this. That family is really going through it. We've obviously got Fergie most recently with her second diagnosis of cancer, Catherine recovering from an operation, and now the King. I'm absolutely devastated for them. Although I will say I did have some slight suspicions it might be heading towards a cancer diagnosis, just because the King went in for the operation for an enlarged prostate and Camilla was visiting him multiple times a day. Say what you like about this couple, they absolutely adore each other, and it was clearly obvious that she was very concerned. But when he left, he looked good. He looked cheery. They both looked happy. But obviously, as we now know, they were probably just digesting the news and working out what the best course of treatment is for the King. Now, there has obviously been an outpouring of support and well wishes and lovely photographs being posted of the King on social media. There was this one photo, though, where it's a piece of artwork that made me cry. It doesn't take a lot to make me cry, but this did, because it reminded me of Paddington and the Queen. This artist really has a beautiful and pure heart. But as you can imagine, that set me off quite a lot. I'm more neurotic than normal lately, so it really did get to me, but I thought it was really beautiful. But of course, no sooner after the world has the announcement that the King sadly has been diagnosed with cancer, we get our very own breaking news announcement from the office of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. They don't have a royal office, they don't have an office, their company is Archwell, but of course they're now obviously still pushing those titles, and they've announced that Harry will be rushing to be by his father's side. This of course then started the newspapers off, the media outlets, didn't it? Which I think is why Harry and Meghan announced the fact that he was coming. Why couldn't he just come? Because the newspapers, William should forgive Harry, William should do this, the King will welcome Harry with open arms. And I thought to myself, you're putting an awful lot of pressure on Prince William when he hasn't actually done anything wrong here. And the same, why should the royal family be the ones that forgive Harry when he has single-handedly waged a one-sided war on them for 4 years? But of course, I think the media do it for clickbait. I personally can't even read the articles anymore, because if I see the words olive branch written one more time when it comes to Harry and Meghan, I'm gonna scream. Now, of course, Harry's rushed visit to suddenly be by his father's side, people have said, oh, he's finally had a thawing of his heart. You're gonna have to forgive me here for being cynical, but I'm sorry, I'm really struggling to believe that narrative. If anything, I could see Harry rushing to be by his father's side just so he can secure his future. You know, he'll be absolutely bricking it that William might take over and take control of things. Now, I don't believe for a second that Charles's illness is that bad. I pray not really for him, but you could see Harry coming for purely selfish reasons. Look how Harry behaved when the Queen had just passed. He managed to make the Queen's death all about himself, his demands, his slights, what Meghan wanted. And I can see something very similar which has happened since the King's diagnosis of cancer, and yet all we see in the headlines is Harry this, Harry that. Now, of course, lots of people, some of you are less cynical than me, have said perhaps this was the health scare that sadly it took for Harry to wake up to stop attacking his family, because sometimes it does take a serious illness or a shock that something could have happened to people in your family or friends that you've fallen out with to make you go, right, it's not worth it. You know, it's not the little things that matter anymore. But the problem is, by using that as an example, Harry lost his grandfather, Prince Philip, and they chose to do Oprah knowing that Philip was dying. Harry and Meghan were on better terms with the royal family before Oprah. They knew that Prince Philip was in his final months. He was 99 years old. He was gravely ill. He was in and out of hospital, and they still went ahead with it. If anything, when people questioned how could they do that, they said that the palace were making up Prince Philip's illness to muzzle Meghan. They never backtracked on that statement either. Then, of course, when Prince Philip did die, you think to yourself, well, that would have been the wake-up call for Harry. No, it wasn't. He continued with his attacks and did further attacks using various podcasts and articles and TV interviews after Oprah to then still attack the royal family and to still push the narrative that he and Meghan did with Oprah. And then he didn't turn up to Prince Philip's memorial a year later, which obviously hurt the Queen. We know the continuous things that he did to upset the Queen, demands for money, still attacking the Commonwealth legacy. I will never forget that they filmed everything that they said and did on Netflix, not knowing that the Queen wouldn't be alive. So the fact is that they thought that that was appropriate, knowing that the Queen would see it one day, in her final years, still grieving the loss of her husband. The fact is, Harry and Meghan had multiple opportunities to bring the children to the UK to see the Queen. You can't tell me that they weren't safe staying inside palace walls. They had Frogmore Cottage. They would have had all police and armed security. They did not. Harry had the opportunity to see the Queen. She'd requested to have a sleepover with her grandchildren, and she'd also requested to see Harry before she actually died. Obviously, the Queen didn't know that that was her final weeks, but Harry could have seen her 3 days before she died, and he chose not to. And I think with Harry, the problem is with him, when Philip died and when the Queen died, it made Harry even angrier, but he doesn't seem to look in the mirror and take any of that resentment on himself. It's his choices and his decisions and his actions that have led to him being outcast by his family. This is something that he chose to do with his wife Meghan, and they have continuously reaffirmed the fact that they hate the royal family, they hate the institution, and now it's almost like everyone's just forgetting it because Harry rushed to be by his father's side. If Harry cared so much, why didn't he put out a statement when Omid Scobie's endgame got leaked that Catherine and the King were the so-called royal racists? A single statement from Harry and Meghan to say that we would like to confirm that the King and Catherine were not actually the royal racists. There was a conversation. We're still not divulging who that person was. But they could have said many things. But they chose to remain silent, even though it was being stoked up by their fan base. Again, you had the race baiters that had attacked Catherine and William in the Caribbean, all of the same faces. They were stirring it all up, yet Harry and Meghan stayed uncharacteristically silent when they could have shut it down. Now, all of a sudden, we're meant to believe that Harry's heart has suddenly thawed. He had the acceptance speech at the Legends of Aviation Awards. He could have spoken about his father or wished him well. The audience half expected it. No, the only mention of his father was to take the piss out of King Charles's aviation skills, given the fact that Charles is a lot more an accomplished pilot than what Harry has ever been. Now, call me suspicious as well as cynical, but does anyone else find it a little bit odd? It's clearly obvious, the time frame, that Harry only announced publicly that he was rushing to be by his father's side 10 minutes after the press announcement. If Harry would have found out long beforehand, like the rest of the family, do you not think that Harry would have gone then? Why was it only announced that he was leaving after the public knew? Obviously, the King and the Queen and the rest of the family had known for days beforehand. I think that Harry is not trusted by his family, so they only told Harry mere moments or so before the Buckingham Palace announcement went out because of everything that Harry and Meghan did over the Queen's funeral. They can't be trusted. But of course, by them doing this big announcement, it changed from the King's shocked cancer diagnosis to Harry's upset, Harry's stress, dress. Harry rushes to be by his father's bedside, and it was all this big melodramatic thing. And I'm sorry, the king looked fine and well as he walked to church on Sunday with the Queen. It's not like he was gravely ill and Harry rushed to hold his father at his bedside. It was done to make Harry almost sound heroic. Considering Harry has all these security concerns, he could have just got on a plane and arrived and no one would have known about it. But the fact that they did it to such fanfare, and of course, there were reporters and people waiting at Lax Airport to catch Harry. Not reporters, but the paparazzi were there. Now, Montecito, where they live, California, they have loads of celebrities. You've got A-listers. So, of course, Lax Airport has its own private entrance. So tell me, how is it that these paparazzi, from taking photographs of a black SUV that I'm sure many people have, they knew it was Prince Harry in there? They knew it was Prince Harry because they were told it was Prince Harry, and there's only going to be 2 people that will want that information to get out. Now, of course, Omid Scobie comes out of nowhere and he says that Harry had a conversation with his father where they discussed the king's diagnosis. I don't believe they discussed the king's diagnosis or what's wrong with him. Otherwise, the world would know by now because Harry would have told Meghan and then it would have miraculously been leaked. I'd imagine it's the very same reasons why William has got no intentions of meeting up with Harry while he's in the UK. How could you have a conversation with your brother, especially given how unwell Catherine has been, without him snooping for tidbits and information that he could feed back to his sources in Montecito? But they've already changed the narrative, or rather they've stuck the knife in and tried to twist the narrative, because sources close to Harry had to point out and say that Harry would have gladly accepted a reunion. Well, how magnanimous of Harry. I mean, come on. He didn't just attack William's grandparents, the Queen's legacy, the Commonwealth, which William one day is due to inherit. He hasn't just tried to damage his father's reign. He has done the unthinkable and he has attacked Catherine. William absolutely adores his wife, and you do not attack another man's wife without expecting some serious blowback. He attacked Catherine because he knew it would be the red rag to the bull for William. Now, they did petty little silly things on Oprah, which I'd personally call school playground stuff. Catherine wouldn't share her lip gloss. Catherine made Meghan cry. Catherine didn't give a lift to Meghan with her friends. That's all the petty mean girl stuff. But the worst one, the biggest offence he did, was when he said, and he didn't say Catherine and William, but you know damn well who he was implying, that William only married Catherine because she fit a mould. She was basically a Stepford wife. And that was words that were echoed by, funnily enough, the man that they don't speak to, Omid Scobie. The very same mouthpiece who I said earlier, he had written that Catherine was the royal racist. Harry and Meghan allowed that narrative. Of course, Meghan would, she hates Catherine, but Harry allowed that narrative to be pushed when he could have issued one statement to shut that down. Now, stress causes a lot of problems with people's bodies. I'm in no doubt that Harry's heartache and the things that he did to the Queen and Philip in their final months caused them great stress and probably added to their health concerns. I also believe that Catherine, whatever is wrong with her, and I don't wish to know and I'm not going to speculate, but she has really been through the ringer since Meghan joined that family. She had all of the accusations that Catherine was the bully, that Catherine was the evil, cold person that made Meghan cry. So they had Oprah. Then, of course, you had the Caribbean tour, which was all stoked up by the race baiters because of Harry and Meghan's accusations. Then, of course, more recently, Endgame. Now, how do we not know that the stress of Catherine being labelled a racist, kicking all of this up again, she's got no way to defend herself, didn't add to her stress levels? And the same with the king. The king has gone from losing both his parents in very quick succession, the stress of becoming king whilst he was obviously grieving for his parents. The king begged Harry at his own father's funeral to please stop fighting, to stop hurting him. Do you know what Harry did with that conversation? He used it as the opening monologue to his book Spare, which was released last year. Harry is doing the same as he did to his grandparents, to his father. He has still caused so much grief and so much stress. And everyone keeps talking about how Harry is feeling, how Harry is coping with it. And I'm sorry, it's Prince William my concerns are with. At the end of the day, he is looking after his wife, who is obviously recovering. recovering from major surgery. He is trying to keep it as normal as possible for his 3 young children. He has recently become the Prince of Wales. He has got lots of engagements, lots of projects that he is working on in his position as the Prince of Wales. His father has now been taken sick, which means Prince William will have to stand in for his father at certain events and engagements. Obviously, he can rely on Princess Anne and Sophie and Edward. It's Prince William I'm worried about his stress levels. He's trying to take care of his wife. He's concerned about his father's health. He's concerned about his children. Yet again, because of Harry doing this announcement and being photographed coming over and going to Clarence's house, because he made it a big drama, he has made the King's cancer diagnosis about himself. It's hardly surprising that William and the rest of the royals don't want anything to do with him. Harry took an 11-hour flight from California. Then he got in a car and he drove straight to Clarence's house to see the King. Harry went through the gates of Clarence's house at 2:45 in the afternoon. That's just going through the gates. You've got to go through security, get out the car, go into Clarence's house, go into a room, find his father. The King and Queen left at 3:35. That's them already in the car going through the gates. Harry at best got 20 minutes with his father. You think to yourself, this obviously wasn't pre-arranged because Harry would have spent longer with his father. Harry could have met his father up in Sandringham if there was to be, a proper meet and greet, spend time with each other. This was shorter than some of King Charles's business meetings. Not only that, the King and Queen, when they left, they then got in a car and they drove to Buckingham Palace when the royal helicopter took off to take the King and Queen to Sandringham, where the King is going to start his medical treatment. It was only then, when they'd taken off, Harry was seen leaving Clarence's house in a car to go to Buckingham Palace. So the King and Queen didn't offer Harry a lift. They did not let him follow in a car behind them. That to me tells me that they didn't want any opportunity for narratives to be twisted. The King welcomes Harry back with open arms. The King and Queen have made up with Prince Harry. They were not allowing Harry to hijack these storylines any more than what he's already done. As I said, he could have done a Zoom call. It probably would have been safer for King Charles, seeing as he wanted to see him. Harry has gone through 2 huge airports. Obviously, you've got the risk of contamination and germs. And I'm sure that the King probably didn't hug his darling boy because he's not sure when the next knife is going to be going into his back. But Harry's face when he left, he did look terribly upset. Now, I will say, as much as I dislike Harry for everything he's done, I wouldn't wish a sick parent on anyone. I had it myself. And as much as I said, Harry has absolutely pushed every nerve that I have, and I don't have a lot of sympathy for him, it's not something I would wish on my worst enemy. But I can't help but feel, as do many people, that this emergency dash that Harry did had very little to do with the King and everything to do with Harry looking out for Harry. I honestly do hope that Harry has suddenly woken up, that his heart has thawed, that he's going to stop attacking his family. But my hopes and wishes for that are not for Harry or for his delayed conscience. It's just for the rest of the royal family. With so many health concerns going on, the last thing that they need is repeated attacks coming from Montecito. Speaking of Montecito, Harry has already made it back home. No shocker there. It seems that it was one big PR whirlwind. Perhaps it was to detract from Africa Parks. Perhaps it was just an opportunity for Harry to get some positive PR because he's had a lot of bad PR recently. He's got the Invictus Games next week. It then reaffirms his relationship to the royal family. It makes him look like suddenly a caring son. And of course, he's received praise from some people for actually just jumping on a plane to finally come see his father. Again, I know I sound cynical, but if you don't care enough about your father to see him when he's well, why do you suddenly care when he's not? Harry, as I said, he didn't stick around long enough. Perhaps the reason why Harry looked so sad when he left Clarence's house was because he was denied a stay in any of the royal residences. Harry, it's been confirmed by the Daily Mail, actually had to stay in a London hotel with his security. So whilst the King might not be feeling very well, do not mistake that for weakness. Harry is sadly no longer trusted, nor is he wanted. And you know what? I'm fresh all out of sympathy for him. My thoughts and my wishes and my hopes are only for all of the members of the royal family that at the moment have got health concerns. From Catherine to the King to obviously Fergie as well. I hope that they all have a speedy recovery. And then, of course, with Prince William, the stress that he's under, and Queen Camilla worrying about her husband. But I will be back with you soon with some cheery news, and we will be talking about the real royals, and I'll let you know if they find if I have a brain or not. So guys, that's it for me on this video. I will be back with you very soon. Take care for now. Bye.